This episode of Lore Drop is sponsored by Chad and Rachel Wolf. Thanks for listening from Kansas City, Mom and Dad. That was the one I was referencing earlier that might go on a horrible rampage and become a horrific monster because he has too many superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's that guy.
The next person.
Quirky.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Lore Drop, a reinvent podcast. A podcast where we talk about stuff all reinvent. I'm Abby, the executive director of Reinvent Productions.
I am Ben, the creative and artistic director.
And today, our third party member is...
Hi, I'm Deacon. I'm here.
Deacon is the not only the treasurer of our board, but he has also been in 2 Reinvent Productions so far. He played Aloy, the quartermaster for the Y2K crew of the Lady Legacy and Lady Legacy Tale of the Tide, which is a character that he built. And then he most recently played, oh my gosh, is it friend, buddy, or pal?
His friend.
He played the friend track, which also was Circuit in Ordinary Heroes that just closed recently in Lubbock. Editor note, Deacon actually ended up playing the role of Trickshot in Ordinary Heroes. He stepped into the role less than a week before we opened the show, and he did a fantastic job. And then he will be playing the character Bug in our May production that is a devised show about the organization Cadence in Reinvent. And we're very excited. He was one of our tabletop players for that, and now he's going to be an actor for it with the script that we wrote. For today's episode, this is going to be the first time that we are talking about an object in the Reinvent universe, and it's going to be the power rings, which affect a good chunk of the stories that we tell in this universe. Before we talk about power rings, we must decide the most important thing about the episode. What animated trio are me, Ben, and Deacon today? What are we feeling today, fellas? My first instinct is the 3 French peas from VeggieTales.
Yes.
I woke up thinking about that today. So my first thought of of 2026 was us as the 3 French peas. So I hope that you guys feel special.
That's really funny.
Okay.
We are batch recording a bunch of these right now before Ben goes back to school, and as a teacher, not as a student.
Yes, thank you for clarifying.
But so this is the first day of 2026. So the first episode of Lore Drop being recorded in 2026 is the Power Rings.
Yeah.
So are we content with the French peas? There's Jean-Claude, and then there's like one other one, and I can't remember.
I'll be honest, I didn't know they had names.
They do.
They do, because they riff off of each other in like any conversation they have. That is, dude, I forgot about that. One of the ones that came to mind for me was in Clifford, the big red dog, like the trio of dogs there. Clifford, Cleo, and T-Bone? Yeah. Ha.
Also,
Clifford.
more characters that I didn't know whose names
Why
were.
do you know?
Well, Clifford was a big red dog.
Yeah, I know that one.
I want to be T-Bone. I don't want to be Cleo. Cleo was a jerk.
Fine, I'll be the jerk. That makes sense.
That doesn't make sense. I should be Cleo.
No, or we could just be the peas. All of us can be jerks.
Yeah.
we
Keep fucking. You know, it works.
Eat your heart out, James.
Okay.
Anyway, okay, Benjamin, tell us about the power rings.
So, the power rings are not just one object, but a series of objects in the Reinvent universe. They are a collection of rings which grant the wearer unique abilities depending on which ring it is that they are wearing, and there are 38 of these rings in total. They were created in universe by Dr. Alexander Wright, and they were made in the year 2014 in universe. Some special features and abilities of the power rings in general that all of them share is that the band on the rings is made of rhondorium, a flexible and durable metal, and that makes it so that the power rings are like a one-size-fits-all ring. They don't have to like hope that they find someone who it actually fits, and then it works on them. The metal properties make it so that it is able to fit whoever is wearing it. So on top of that, since the band is all made of the same thing, it is actually the gem in the ring that changes or that determines what powers the person gains. But these rings are also equipped with a sort of life force detector inside of them, so that when vital signs are detected, the ring will physically attach itself to the wearer, and it doesn't release until those vital signs are not detected anymore. So what that looks like is that inside of the ring, there's a tiny little like hook that just goes like if you ever gone fishing and you accidentally get the hook. Sorry for any people who are upset by that analogy. But yeah, and I say a life force detector because originally it was that it would detect a heartbeat, and then at some point there was a character who did not have a heartbeat, but it was very much still alive, kinda. It's the character of Reaper Gets a Ring, and he is just a soul that is possessing a suit of armor, and it still worked for him, and so that pseudoscience exists. But specifically, wearing a power ring will also create a specific polarity in the wearer's body, which prevents them from wearing more than one of the power rings, because these are sort of like so powerful, and the upper limit is not known on most of these rings. And so that was a built-in fail-safe to make sure that nobody would get too crazy powerful with these power rings.
Yeah, nobody ever gets more than one power ring, and it causes them to be a horrific monster that wreaks havoc across the place. That never, ever, ever happens.
That's a story for a different episode.
It's gonna come. It's gonna be really cool.
And so the other thing about these power rings is that they were released in waves to the public. And so there are 6 waves in total. And so it starts actually with wave 0, which was the quartz, alexandrite, cobalt, iolite, ruby, sapphire, and emerald rings. Wave 1 consisted of the amber, amethyst, aquamarine, bloodstone, sardonyx, seraphinite, topaz, obsidian, and mystic quartz rings. Wave 2 consisted of the almandine, beryl, citrine, onyx, tanzanite, savorite, and fluorite rings. Wave 3 consisted of the danbarite, rhodolite, moonstone, sunstone, and zephyr rings. And wave 4 consisted of the androdite, diopside, garnet, peridot, and tourmaline rings. Now you might be wondering, there's another wave that you didn't mention because you said there were 6, and there are, but those waves are the ones, waves 0 through 4, are the ones that were designed and created by Alexander Wright at Gemstone Industries. The next one is a wave created by Caius, the Thunderforged deity of knowledge, and he specifically made 5 of these, the Amazonite, Idocras, Melanite, Malachite, and Orthoclase rings.
Pokemon could never.
Could never. 38 types altogether. Get on our level.
those are big words for I don't know.
But some notable users of the power rings in general, characters that people might recognize, are Andrew Blood, Percy Variel, and Maurice Williams. And so the power rings' first real-world appearance was in the Cataclysm campaign. The first D&D campaign ran in the Reinvent universe. In the real world and fictional in-universe year 2016, when the party learns about their existence and the purpose of the power rings when they're captured by Gemstone Industries. This is an event that happens in Season 1 of Children of Destiny Cataclysm as well, and the party at this point consists of Severica, Gryver, Navita Vega, and Reaper. But yeah, and that was sort of their introduction there. And so in terms of like in-universe, how they sort of went about, most of these were actually released to their wearers before Cataclysm takes place. Wave 0 happens in 2014, and these rings are all tested internally at Gemstone Industries, and so they are distributed to people who work for Gemstone Industries. Wave 1 is then released publicly in 2015, and specifically with this one, 7 randomly chosen citizens of Dustria City are invited to a tour of Gemstone Industries. Take a nice free little tour of our facility, see what we're doing. Thank you for your service to our city, whatever their jobs are, right?
Also, you want some superpowers?
Well, and at the end of the
Willy
tour...
Wonka could never.
Yeah.
Seriously.
At the end of the tour, all of the people here are offered a complimentary ring. They're offered a complimentary ring that is part of a new line of one-of-a-kind rings, and so they will be getting a special gift for their time, and that is all they're told.
Oh, so they didn't tell them, like, hey, once you put this on,
Nope.
it's never going to come off. Also, you might get superpowers.
Nope. None of that.
I feel like feel like that's not the best business practice ever.
Yeah, well, that's because it wasn't a business practice.
What would that be? Would that be a marketing strategy?
I don't know what I'd call it.
What would you call it?
I mean, it could potentially increase, customer lifetime value.
That's crazy. Deacon's a business major, so we'll be able to ask him questions about these things.
I know vague stuff because I'm a communications major.
Business communications, same thing.
Marketing, anyway, it's fine.
Yeah.
If they're not the same thing, I'm so sorry. Don't come for me, communication majors.
But so essentially, the background of these rings as well is that the secret purpose of designing these rings was to create superpowered individuals in Industrious City, and that is to sort of with the idea of creating this like utopia idealized state of some sort. And so that was part of this was like, let's just give these to people.
So were they actually randomly selected?
Yes, they were.
That's crazy. That is such a crapshoot right there.
Yeah. Okay, what algorithm of randomly selected? Well, like how? Like, was there an elementary school kid that was like, "Hey,
They
get that child.
pulled the data of the people who were included in the most recent census of Industrious City, and so people that
Straight
they're
up
like these are
census.
adults, and they checked is like, do they live here still? Yes, okay.
Didn't check their crime record.
Nope.
Didn't check any just to say like, hey, does this person have a name that sounds like they could be a super villain instead of a superhero?
Not even
Like Andrew Blood. That definitely doesn't sound like a bad guy name.
Yep.
No, it's clearly a surgeon.
And in fact, Andrew Blood is one of these 7 people who was chosen here, as well as Maurice Williams. But so, if you were keeping track, though, Wave 1 includes 9 rings, not 7. So the other 2 that were not chosen by these visitors were the Obsidian and Mystic Quartz rings, and these were later offered personally by Andrew Blood to Mason Stone and Evan Dawson in exchange for their services, sort of like a hiring bonus for joining his crew.
That's crazy. Were they friends beforehand?
No. They were friends with each other, but not with Andrew.
Were they enemies beforehand? Did they know of each other?
No.
Oh, okay.
Andrew sort of like saw them and was like, ooh, these guys would be a really good pair of people to bring on board.
Yeah, and the group that he's putting together, you want to know what it's called? The Blood Oath Militia.
Oh, well, that's not what this group is. That's not, well, okay, yeah, they are part of that.
Okay, that's what it becomes. Doesn't that sound
Kind of culty.
kind of culty,
Yeah.
kind of scary, kind of like bad guys?
So, Wave 2 happens later on in 2015, a couple months later. And what happens with this wave of rings is that these ones are being auctioned off at a fundraiser for the Industrious City Central Museum.
Ah,
And
dang,
so-
these freaking philanthropists
Yeah.
doing good things for the city.
Yep. So what happens with this one is that during this auction, the first 2 rings are bought by one Cyrus White. He ends up buying the Savorite and the Tanzanite rings. And then before the auction can continue, wouldn't you know, a robbery happens.
Huh.
The bandits appear and basically hold everyone at gunpoint and take the rest of the things that are being offered on the auction, which includes the other 5 of these power rings in this wave. And so the bandits, through that, get hold of 5 power rings right off the bat.
Okay, again, I need this to be emphasized. Do people still not know that these rings give people superpowers?
Nope.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I wonder how they've been. So how much time like is separating each of these waves?
So that was 2 months between Wave 1 and Wave 2. And Wave 0 was like an internal secret thing at Gemstone Industries about 6 months before Wave 1 was released.
You're like,
Okay.
okay, nobody died, all right, so we can make sure that.
So theoretically, you could keep this kind of thing under wraps for 2 months.
Yeah. I said it's crazy how we have like a bunch of people with superpowers in the city now.
Isn't it crazy how they all have this ring that they can't take off?
I don't think people realize that. I don't think they go around like talking about that. They're like, oh, that's crazy.
Whoa.
There's definitely
They're all accessory peeps.
there's certain we'll keep going here in a little bit and then we'll talk about that.
Hold on. You can't tell me that there isn't one jackwagon on Reddit that isn't noticing the details that like every single one of these superpowered people has a ring.
There's definitely not. Industrious City, there's not enough news coverage of them to actually do that.
Okay.
Zoom in enhance is not a real thing.
It really isn't.
Taking my skepticals off for now.
So wave 3, yet again, is a couple months later. And what happens with wave 3 is that with this wave of rings, Gemstone Industries also owns their own line of jewelry stores. And so if these rings are distributed to this chain of jewelry stores, each of these stores gets one of these rings. And it's basically, okay, cool, these are yours to sell.
Oh, no, it's like the Starbucks bear cups that they only got a certain amount per store.
And like I said, these are also, the fact that these, the only people that Gemstone tells, hey, this is part of a line of one-of-a-kind rings are the people who show up for wave 1. The rest of them, that's not information that is disclosed. That this is part of a secret line of rings or whatever.
So each store just has an extremely expensive, one-of-a-kind ring that they're told to sell.
Yep, absolutely.
So we're going to give rich people superpowers.
And
Nothing
so
could go wrong.
those are all of the rings that get distributed before Cataclysm starts. And the thing is, around this point, the rings have sort of started congregating and ending up in groups and factions and such. There's a good handful of the rings that end up with people who work for the Industrial City Police Department. There are the 5 rings that were stolen by the Bandits Trade Union that they have. There's also 4 rings that have ended up in on the fingers of the 4 members of the Bastions as well. And so those, and of course there are people working for Gemstone Industries who also have these rings. So that's our sort of 4 like pillars of this city and these superpowered groups and everything. So the people on the force at the Industrial City Police Department have made a whole like task force to figure out what's going on with these rings at this point, the Superpowered Investigations Unit. So they're the ones who have been like, hey, we all got these rings and then we got superpowers. What's going on here? So to answer your question, they're the ones who are like, wait a minute.
The DCPD doesn't have zoom in and enhance?
No.
Come on. It's not. This is a fictional place.
You know who has zoom and enhance? Gemstone Industries.
I realize this is the most goblin energy I've had for an episode so far, so I apologize for being divisive.
It's very funny.
I'm
so here for it.
Just learning new things.
Now, if you thought those other waves were kind of crazy and chaotic, wait until you hear about Wave 4, which is released in 2016, because what happens with these ones is that these are specifically planted at various locations around Dustria City. So not given to people, not said, oh, someone rich has to get their hands on this one. This is just out there in the world for any Joe Schmo to find.
So it's like Light Yagami getting the Death Note?
Yeah.
That's crazy!
So is it geocached somewhere, or is it just, or is it like Yagami just dropped in the middle of a field?
It's
kind of thing?
I think geocached is more the vibe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So some highlights of this one are that there's one ring that is placed in an abandoned apartment building. That is notably haunted. One of the rings.
The ring or the apartment?
The apartment is haunted. Yes. Another one of these rings is placed in an old woman's backyard. A third one is placed in an escape room.
So definitely some dumb kid is gonna get their hands on that one.
Exactly. Around this time in 2016 as well is when there's a new discovery about these rings, a secret feature to them, you could say, because meanwhile, back at Gemstone Industries, they've been trying to figure out why the emerald ring isn't working. It doesn't do the whole like snatching, like attaching onto someone thing when you put it on their finger. And at this point, Dr. Alexander Wright, the creator of the rings, has abandoned Gemstone Industries and gone to join the DCPD as one of their sort of informants. Essentially. And so he is not with Gemstone, and on his way out, he destroyed all of his research notes and left nothing behind.
And he's still alive?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That guy's powerful. That's scary.
And so people at Gemstone are trying to figure out why the Emerald Ring is not working, and Dr. Wright is under constant protection and supervision by the DCPD, so they can't just yoink him. And so Andrew Blood is tasked...
It should be a shame if the DCPD fell apart and got taken over by robots.
That'd be crazy. So at this point, Andrew Blood is given the task of figuring out what's up with the Emerald Ring. And one day, just deciding to be a menace specifically to Maurice Williams, he kidnaps one of Maurice's childhood friends. And when Maurice appears with the party to rescue his friend, the extreme emotional event of seeing his childhood friend being beaten up by these criminals breaks something or awakens something within Maurice. And he has the Amber Ring, which gives him pyrokinetic abilities, and in this moment, he sort of is engulfed in this array of multicolored flames, and his powers have now awoken. He gets a new extra cache of powers on top of what he already had, and with that as well, a thing called A energy is released into his body. That is a thing that sort of signifies when someone has had their powering awakening so far. With this happening, there's a slight reading that is given off by the Emerald Ring, and so the Andrew figures out that, okay, we need to awaken more people's rings to actually make the Emerald Ring work, and it needs to happen in proximity to the Emerald Ring as well. That's what he theorizes, at least at this point. And so that is one of the new updates here as well, and this sort of spreads quickly amongst the DCPD crew as well, that they're like, oh, there's a new extra level of power we can unlock at some point. And so the next thing that happens is in 2017, and this is the Thunderforge wave happens. So this is when Caius, the Thunderforge god of knowledge, creates 5 more power rings of his own because he is pretty amused by them. And so he decides he's going to hold on to these to give out at his own discretion to people that he thinks are worthy and that he wants more of these to exist in the world. And the first one that he gives is the Amazonite ring to one Gladius Maya, who is also a member of the DCPD. The Amazonite ring allows Gladius to transform into various animals, and so that is the only one that he has given out at this point.
What's your thought? You got a little face.
No, I'm here for Gladius, Maya, Amazonite, and becoming Beast Boy.
Yep.
It all works so well.
It's like 3D chess with the name and everything.
Yeah.
So the next thing that happens with the Power Rings is in the year 2018, and this is when the Emerald Ring finally gets activated. It took a whole 2 years later for Andrew working at his plan to actually make this happen. And what happens is that there is a confrontation at the 17th precinct of the DCPD. And so the Emerald Ring, they figured out at one point it would not work until it collects the A energy of 10 Power Ring users, who all of them were collected in the same place at the same time. And then that would activate the Emerald Ring here. And so what happens is that it collects the A energy of Severica Agriver, Navita Vega, Maurice Williams, Thomas Jones, Neil Sanders, Annie Den, Mike Walsh, Mason Stone, Evan Dawson, and Andrew Blood all at the same time. And so afterwards, it is discovered that the Emerald Ring can only be used by a dead person. And putting it on a corpse brings that corpse back to life in this sort of way. They don't really have their mind back. They're sort of like a husk, an echo of who they were in life. And what the Emerald Ring does, they discover as well, is that it causes things to age. And so it sort of accelerates the aging of whatever the wearer sort of points its target at. But yeah, and those are that is the Emerald Rings in Cataclysm. The next thing that happens is in the Dynamite campaign, the second campaign run in Reinvent, and that is around the year 2025. It is discovered by Cadence that the powers granted by the Power Rings become permanent to the wearer. There was an instance back in 2017 where Andrew, in an attempt to awaken the power rings of Adam Dahl and Annie Den, Adam had the Moonstone ring, which allows him to alter and change the direction of gravity on an individual. And Annie Den has the Aquamarine ring, which gives her hydrokinesis powers. Andrew kidnapped Adam and then held him at the Blood Money Casino and subjected him to carbon monoxide poisoning. The party arrived and found him before he succumbed to any fatal results of carbon monoxide poisoning. But when they brought Adam to the doctors, they were then approached by agents of Cadence who said, he is too dangerous, we need to take him into custody, because the doctor said, hey, he did suffer, he was exposed to this long enough that if he does wake up, he will probably have some early onset dementia of some kind. That there is definitively going to be brain damage that he is suffering. And for an individual who can alter gravity, that was a really scary thought for everyone in the room. But the thing is that the people at the DCPD, the party, Severica specifically, who used to work for Cadence, did not want them to have the Moonstone ring either, because she didn't trust what they would be doing with it. So what happened is that with the help of the Order of Heroes, they tested a theory. They applied a tourniquet to Adam's arm, restricting the blood flow to his ring, and then his ring expanded off and fell off of his finger. And so then Cadence still took Adam for testing and supervision. And what Cadence did is that they sent Adam up to their brand new satellite prison that orbited the Earth. And so he was held up there with a handful of other superpowered individuals, and he did not wake up for years. And at which point that he did wake up, he used his powers to crash the satellite from within it. Brought it back down to Earth. And so they discovered through this that, in fact, the powers granted by the power rings do become permanent at some point. It is not contingent upon them wearing the ring or like keeping the ring, but they just don't know what the threshold of when those powers become permanent is yet. And so at a point later on, this is also discovered by two other individuals, because Cadence decides to keep that a secret because that's a crazy thing to know, and they don't want the gemstone to know about that. What they discover later on, there are two other individuals who figured this out, one of which is Malcolm Duncan in the year 2030, when his specific ability that he gains from Project Alpha experiments is that he can change the magnetic polarity and properties of his body. And so he figures out that he can change his polarity to get the ring off of him. And so he figures out that, oh, I've only had this ring for 6 months and my powers are still here. Cool. So then he goes on a journey to find more rings, wear them for 6 months, get them off, and then go get more. And then the next person.
That was the one I was referencing earlier that might go on a horrible rampage and become a horrific monster because he has too many superpowers. Yeah, that's that guy.
The next person.
Quirky.
Yeah. The next person who figures this out is Kyle Wilson, at which point that Kyle has become the leader of the Bandits trade union. But Kyle has discovered, after one of his men encountered Malcolm in the field, that Malcolm had the powers of multiple ring bearers. And so he discovers that these powers are permanent and decides to test this for himself. This is the year 2039 at this point, and he goes to save one of his subordinates in the Tokyo branch of the Bandits trade union and offers up to the Yakuza one of his fingers as payment for his crimes, and he specifically cuts off the finger that had his ring on it and gives his ring to the subordinate that he saved. And so he keeps his radioactive powers as well.
That's crazy. I forgot. I know that was a thing, and I just so like it's just been locked in my head that happened again. Yep. That's crazy.
So
Kyle's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, you're realizing that in order to take the ring off, it's not a lifeless being, but a lifeless hand or restricted hand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was the arm still like functional after it was tourniqueted?
Yes.
To the point where the ring could be taken off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And from a mechanics standpoint, I made them roll luck to see if it would work, and they rolled a nat 20. And so then I had to find a way to make it work for the story. But yeah, so that's that. The other big thing that happens in 2025 for the Power Rings is that at this point, Severica Gryver is traveling with Aurora Remington, Adriana Collarbone, and Overkill through the desert of Mexico on their way to Juarez. They're also traveling alongside Richard and Tower of the Order of Heroes, and they find in the desert a lamp. And what does anyone who has watched Aladdin do when they find a lamp in the desert? They rub the lamp.
Leave it alone. Oh.
They rub the lamp, and it does in fact summon a djinn who offers them 3 wishes. And what Severica wishes for, and the djinn specifically offers not 3 wishes, he offers each member of the party 1 wish. What Severica wishes for is for 3 more power rings for her new friends. And so what the djinn does...
Okay, I'm sorry. From a meta standpoint, did John come up with that himself, or did you tell him to do
No, he
that?
came up with that himself.
Wow. Thanks, John.
Yeah. So the djinn then uses its magical abilities and reaches its little old hand into Caius's stash in the deity realm and grabs 3 more.
That's crazy.
And so the djinn bestows them with the Idocras, Melanite, and Malachite power rings. And at this point in time, Caius, because of the Tournament of Champions, is not allowed to interact with any of his prior champions, Severica of which was one of them, for 100 years. And so he can't say anything about this to them.
But Severica's an elf, so she lives.
Yeah, she'll live long enough to talk to Caius again, but...
If she survives.
Yeah.
This is true.
So these new rings are given to Aurora, Adriana, and Overkill.
From a meta standpoint, I can't remember, did you have us just like pick a card to be, because I have the original note card for Aurora's power ring on my bulletin board still. Did you give those to us specifically, or did you have us just
I had you guys choose which of the rings you took, but I had the 3 rings taken, but I had you guys choose the ring.
Did we know what powers?
No, I didn't tell you what powers they had.
I just think it was so funny, like the way that turned, because it just turned out like so perfectly.
It worked out really well
it
because what happened is Aurora got the Idocras power ring, which gave her a healing factor. Adriana got the Malachite power ring, which gave her the abilities of astral projection, and then Overkill got the Melanite power ring, which gave him X-ray vision.
From a meta standpoint, you as a DM, did you know what you wanted the awakened power to be?
The awakened powers are ones that I had already established in Cataclysm, that they are dependent A, upon the personality of the person wearing the ring, and B, upon what powers they needed most in the time that the awakening happened.
Oh, I like that. So for Aurora, what happened? So Aurora's an Asmar, and with the being a protector Asmar, she was like basically she has like a lot of healing stuff inherently that she was able to do. Aurora's awakening happened by finding the Lady Legacy crew again after she had been tramping through the desert and the rest of the North America to get back to her crew. So her awakening was when she saw her crew again. And the A energy power that she ended up getting was that anytime she had her light wings out in combat, they would be passively healing her allies. So like from a meta standpoint, like I would be rolling what I needed to heal each round, but then that could heal up to 10 of my allies within a certain radius, I think.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, they had to be able to see the wings.
Yes, but it was very, very helpful, especially later in the campaign when we kept getting beat up.
Yep. That gave me permission to throw stronger things their way.
And we were like, oh no. We were like, yay, we're doing better. And then we were like, oh no, we're not doing
Super Commando's here.
Super Commando, no, not Super Commando.
The next big thing that happens, the next revelation regarding the power rings in the Dynamite campaign is on the journey up from Kansas City to Pomiot. They encounter on the Northern Express train, they find Saoirse Allowan's daughter. Saoirse is the sister of Severica Agriver. And Severica didn't know that Saoirse had a daughter. Saoirse had the Androdite powering, which gave her invisibility. And so upon interacting with Alara, Severica had a chat with her and then said, oh, is your mom around? And Alara did not answer the question. And then Alara also went invisible. And so they discovered that the powers granted by the power rings are also hereditary, that they're able to be passed down to the next generation.
There's a couple other examples that we've talked about that haven't been in official stories yet, but that we've talked about.
Yeah, other children that
this will happen to.
Yeah.
So like Aurora Remington's biological children, all of them are born with a healing factor. There's also when Andrew Blood has a child, his wife also has a power ring.
Yeah, she gets the Moonstone ring at one point,
yes.
the gravity ring.
So having a child with parents who have the ability to control shadows and the ability to control gravity makes it so that your child can make black holes. Deacon is intrigued.
Okay.
Yep.
He sat back in his chair.
Okay. I'm here for it.
Yeah. And then the next, the final revelation that has actually been explored is that there's also a point in, this is rewinding a little bit, but we'll explain it here. It's relevant now, finally, for the first time. Back during the Cataclysm campaign, there was a specific Christmas that happened in which a spirit of time approached the party and said, there's someone who is messing with time and I need you to stop them. And so what happened was that he said, there's someone from a dark future, that is a universe set 20 years in the future when all of the children of destiny have died. But there's someone in this timeline who has a power ring which lets them time travel. And what they are doing is that they've used it to come back in time and try and make their future happen faster. And so the party, which at this point consists of Severica, Navita, and Agatha, goes on a little bit of a quick time journey. They go back to the past and they save Richard Briggs and Remy LaFave. They go back to the present and they save Mike Walsh. And then they go back to the future where they confront this individual for the third time, whose name is Zane. He is from the alien planet of Dravik, and he at some point had got his hands on Caius's final power ring, the Orthoclase power ring, which is the one that allows you to manipulate time. And so the next time that this ring shows up, is in the year 2031 in Universe 17, at which point this ring is anonymously and mysteriously delivered to the front step of Andrew Blood's home, which he then goes on
to a teenager.
He gives it to Percy Variel in What If.
So anonymously delivered.
Yeah, it was just left there.
Who did it? You know who did it.
I know who did it. Specifically what happens, and this
anonymously
is
by whom?
A very fun behind the scenes thing, because so what happened in the dark future, because Zane was killed in his own timeline, was that after it was given to him, it was sent on to one Persephone Variel, who joined the villainous group known as Manifest Destiny. She had the ability to turn back time, is what this power ring gave her. And at some point, she found that this power ring, there was a catastrophic event that had happened, that she was in an attempt to save the Earth. She decided to go back to when she got the power ring. And in doing so, she tried to go back even further because she realized it didn't fix it that time. So she went to go back before she got the power ring, and that messed with the timeline in a very bizarre way, and it shunted her into Universe 17. And at which point, the power ring was no longer on her finger, but she was still had that magnetic polarity as if it was. And so she could not put it back on. And so what she decided to do was to deliver it to the person who gave it to her in the first place, which was Andrew Blood, hoping that it would make its way back to herself in this timeline. Because she doesn't, it's also in character, she doesn't realize that she's in a completely different universe, because no one in the world, in the multiverse, knows how the universe structure actually works, and that time travel is not really that's not a thing.
What in the Meet the Robinsons is this?
What in the Doctor Who is this? What in the time travel? Like, it makes sense. It works.
I know that you and I have talked about, like, the idea that we want Percy, who full name's Persephone, but our Percy, What If's Percy, for her to, like, have an encounter with Persephone, which will be a fun thing at some point that we'll explore. We've talked about before that we don't do universe crossovers. This is technically an exception to that rule.
I mean, it's not. I wouldn't call it a crossover because Persephone is there forever now.
But she came from a different universe. That's why I say it's technically.
Okay.
Technically, but not really. So don't freak out, y'all. It's okay. It's okay. Deacon, calm down.
Yeah, there's no multiverse of madness, Flashpoint paradox going on.
No. None of that. Just Percy's going to have to fight herself at some point, which is going to be an existential crisis all itself. It'll be great.
All right. And you can of course cut this if this is slightly off, but Zane from the planet, you said Drakkar?
Dravik.
Dang it. Okay.
Close enough.
Is Zane a drow?
He is a fetchling, which is the sort of like human version of a drow. The planet Dravik is one that is essentially the reinvent Underdark. So that is the planet that drow are from.
Okay. Haha.
Yeah.
I'm like, I recognize both the naming structure and the... Okay, cool.
Yeah. Anybody who, like, if you're playing a drow character, that's where...
They are an alien.
They're an alien.
But yeah, that is all the stuff that has happened with and related to power rings specifically. In Reinvent so far.
So what do you think, Deacon? What do you think about the pseudoscience that we've got going on?
I find it highly fascinating.
Heck yeah.
I love it. The dissemination of the rings I find extremely interesting because it doesn't fall under the one supreme being finds people worthy to share this power with. More what happens if we do this? Yeah. I mean, from a business perspective.
Such a crapshoot the way that they disseminate these. It's so crazy, which I think is kind of like it is kind of being cheeky towards like how other science fiction and other power like origin stories are of it just being like, hey, these 38 power rings, we don't know who ended up with them. Yeah. Except for these 7
35
people.
From their perspective.
Yeah.
33 math.
There's too many numbers.
Yeah.
Also, at first I was like, that's a randomly specific number, 38. But okay, because they went out in waves. Like that makes sense. And at least nerd me is like, I can see some correlation here. Yeah. 9 to the human. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And golden ticket. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But like, overall, it does feel it does feel very well thought out and unique in implementation.
Yeah, because it's part of it. Because like these are the power rings are sort of like a first step kind of thing for Gemstone Industries of like because their plan is to have full control over Industrial City at one point, and so this was their like first draft pass at trying to make this happen by sort of orchestrating a hero and villain groups that they had control over, but then realized very quickly, oh, we can't actually keep control over these people. And so from there, transitioned into their court spot plan, which does succeed.
Also, Gemstone, it might just be me and the fact that I don't know much, but is Gemstone Industries, right? Okay. Is Gemstone Industries named such for their for their jewelry or for like this purpose?
They are. That was one of their big things. We will talk about this in the Dustria City episode, but that is part of the origins of Dustria City. Is like Gemstone has been there since the beginning around this mine, which has a healthy, unnatural abundance of gemstones and minerals and metals inside of it.
Yeah, our next two episodes. So the next episode is about Dustria City as a whole, and then the episode after that will be specifically about Gemstone Industries, and all the crazy shenanigans they get up to. But yes, those questions will be answered. But give us the questions now.
Sweet. I will continue to tune in next time.
Where did the inspiration for Power Rings come from?
The initial idea honestly came from in middle school. I think it was 8th grade or something like that. It was whenever Rooster Teeth started releasing their show Ruby. And that idea of just like characters named after, or a character named after gems and like precious minerals and stuff, and they have other characters who are also named in that way as well. But that was sort of the idea. I was like, ooh, I kind of like this idea. Let me like think about it and tweak it in my own unique ways, however I can. And so that was also initially like it was one of those in writing it that I was just like, oh yeah, here's this thing with these rings. This character Maurice gets this ring in this way, and then encounters more and more people who also have these power rings. Was sort of the initial idea of the story. But yeah, and then at one point it was my senior year of high school when I was writing up my first like ideas of the Cataclysm campaign, was when I expanded the full list of rings to the 33 of them that we have.
We've got an artifact on the table that along with my artifact from Dynamite, this piece of graph paper that has all of the symbols for the power rings in the different groups that they end up with, yeah, which we'll also put in the show notes. But was this something, when did you draw these symbols?
The symbols were sort of when I came up with which ring did what. So I drew the symbols based off of it was honestly the research process was one of the most extensive things I'd ever done. It was my like hyperfixation for a couple weeks because I was just looking up all these different like gems and stones and everything. And I was like, what are some of the unique properties of these gems and everything, right? And so on like a meta level, ruby, sapphire, and emerald are some of the like hardest precious gems. And so in world, that is why they have some of the most powerful abilities. The emerald ring accelerates aging. The ruby ring is a teleportation ring. And then the sapphire ring gives you the power of persuasion. You give a command and the person does it. It sort of overrides their mind. So that was the idea with those. Some of these went with like the naming convention. So like amber translated to flames pretty easily for me. Aquamarine to water. But then other ones, one of the specific ones I like a lot is the onyx ring, because onyx as a gem or mineral, I don't remember which one it falls into, but is known for its malleability. It is very easily shaped into other things, and so that translated in my brain to shapeshifting. But yeah, and then other ones was sort of like a vibes thing. Of like the obsidian ring gives the person an alternate form, sort of like Colossus from the X-Men, where their durability and strength is enhanced. And that was definitely inspired by the way obsidian works in Minecraft.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What about Aurora's ring?
The Idacras ring, that was one at that point that I was just thinking of what powers don't exist yet in these power rings, and then what gems have I not used. So at that point, it just became like, okay, let me match these up together and see what names vibe best with these powers. So Amazonite went pretty easily to animal transformation, and then the rest of them, I was just like, I don't know. This makes sense in my brain.
I think it's just interesting the way that you have made the symbols.
Yeah, the symbols were entirely inspired by the powers. The Idocras ring, since that one gives the wearer like healing abilities, the idea with the shape of that one was it's sort of the base of this one is like a triangle type thing that has a sort of like pillar funneling into it from the top. And so the idea was sort of like filling up a cup of water or whatever back up to full. That sort of healing going on there. Trying to think some of my other ones that I really like a lot. Again, the onyx ring, that one is shaped like a face. That symbol, sort of like a Mayan or Aztec mask of some kind.
Talk about that bloodstone one.
The bloodstone one. Yes. That one is shaped. So the idea with that one, this one is the one that I think the name, power, and symbol aren't easy to line up with each other just from explaining to them, because so I need to talk about another ring first as well. The bloodstone ring is the one that gives you shadow powers, umbra kinesis, and there's another ring, the almondine ring, which is the one that gives you blood manipulation. And so at the time that I made the bloodstone ring, it was because those gems are primarily black with traces of green and red in them. So that's where I got the shadow powers from. But also the symbol for this one is this sort of like, it's a lot of like curves on it, but it sort of has the shape of a coffin of some kind, with all these like curves and everything. And so the idea with that was also the idea of like shadows and the idea of vampires needing to stay out of the sun. And a big trope in vampires is sleeping or rejuvenating in their coffins. Especially in D&D, they like revive from their coffin. So you have to destroy that to destroy them, as one of the steps at least. So that was part of it, and sort of the weird matrix of like connections in the brain.
I think it's quite ironic that Andrew Blood deals with vampires
quite
often.
Oh yeah, and I think he definitely does not appreciate the irony of it as well.
You've always been really good at making symbols and stuff. It's been fun. There was a project that you and I did in undergrad together where we set designed Antigone, and we ended up making these family tree banners from that.
For this poor cursed family.
Yeah, because if you've read any of the Oedipus plays, it's a hot mess. And
well, and even like beyond that, I learned some other like mythology details of like Dionysus like screwed them over.
Yeah. Dionysus was like, this family bad.
Yeah.
But what was fun is that like we had made the banner started with Oedipus at the bottom, and then like as you went up the banner, and these were like 12-foot long.
They were big. Yeah.
They were huge. And they were hanging on the sides of the proscenium. So we made 2 of them, but you and I designed the symbols for them. And when I say you and I, you did more of the work, just because this was like a thing that you're really good at. But being able to make the character representations through the symbols, so that way as the family tree went up, like it started from the bottom and grew up towards the ceiling. We had it that like blood stains were like creeping up through the family tree. So that by the time like the blood was like already starting to get to Antigone, because spoiler alert for a hundreds of year old play, Antigone dies. Almost everybody dies at the end of that show, except for freaking Creon, who deserved it. But all that spoilers, sorry y'all. But I bring that up because with Ordinary Heroes, that's something that we did a lot, was making more logos for the heroes. Some of them had logos before, but then other ones like we were like, oh, we need to make logos for these people for costume stuff. And I think it's been fun to see you to make new logos for characters. It's fun to like make these new, and they're so thoughtful the way that you do them. And maybe on our TikTok at some point, maybe we'll do like little like, this is what this symbol is.
So my next question, how, I guess one, how have you found a greater benefit in borrowed power style, like powers, versus inherent ones, the whole like born with this power?
Yeah.
Something that I've found a little interesting trying to explain, whenever someone's like, hey, what play are you in? And I'm like, okay, so imagine like this year, like say 2017, put onto roughly Earth adjacent. Now put D&D on top of that, where like all the different like races and stuff have their inherent like attributes and stuff. And then put an additional like measure of magic and make it a spy show.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So like there are a few different, not necessarily contrasting themes, but potentially more difficult to complement themes. I mean, in practicum, it works really well, at least from my perspective as a participant.
Yeah.
But like, how have you come to this balance?
So the way I break it down is that internally there's like a two-step power classification system. And the first step is the like source of the power, and the second step is the kind of power. And so the first step, as the source, there are three like power sources that people can get in the reinvent universe at large. The first one is genetic. It is something we used to call this inherent. It is a power that they are born with. It is something that is natural to their body. It is not contingent upon anything else. Think of like an elf's dark vision, or
like an Asimar's,
or an Asimar's wings, or whatever that manifests as, right? The second one is training, just good old fashioned working towards it and honing it up, and the ability to do that. Martial arts fall into this category. And then the third one is equipment, powers that are derived from an object that is given to you. So that is where all of the power rings fall into, is that equipment category. And so that second layer then breaks it down into magical, scientific, and physical powers. And so there are genetic magical powers, such as a sorcerer who is born with their magic, training magical powers like a wizard or a bard who has to work towards it and develop it on their own, or equipment magical powers like the investigators who use that a lot. Beauregard Remington is a character who all of his magic comes from his spell book, as well as little artifacts that he has.
Drawing magical
equipment
and runes and stuff like that.
Yeah, so like magical equipment is like any like specific like magic spell or whatever it is.
Manipulating a magical world as opposed to being able to do any of that on your own.
Okay.
Yeah, because Beauregard is just dude.
Yeah. And so the other thing on top of that is that with that magical, scientific, and physical thing of that, like, so going back to like an elf's dark vision, right? That power specifically would be genetic and physical, because it is something that is part of their body. It is not inherently magical, at least in the reinvent world. This is sort of where it differentiates from like traditional D&D lore. Because I think in like D&D lore, they put it in like it's part of the Fey ancestry stuff of like that's where it comes from. At least in 5th edition, that's what they used to explain it. Don't know what 2024 says.
Oh, I'm old guard. I'm 3/5.
No, yeah, so I was like, oh wait, and that's why. But so specifically that difference between magical and scientific is one that is explored or is hinted at right at the first episode of the second episode of Cataclysm, in that in the reinvent world, magic is a naturally occurring thing. It is a natural and inherent part of the universe, and it is something built in. You can naturally reach out, and if you have that ability to use magic, pull on the strings of reality in that way and affect the world around you. Scientific abilities are things that are not naturally occurring. They are not things that someone willed this into existence, right? And so in terms of like another example, something like a revenant or a wraith, which was brought back to life by that sort of grudge of some sort, will be different than Frankenstein's monster, which is brought back via scientific means in that way. So
we haven't done anything with Frankenstein and reinvent yet.
Yeah. And so all of these rings, the specific like double classification they have is scientific equipment. But so that's also, so one of the early interactions we see is that Andrew Blood uses his shadows to his advantage a lot of the time in combat. He can make it so that no one else can see. And so very early on, he encounters Severica, an elf with dark vision, and he uses shadows, and she's freaking out because she can't see through the darkness for the first time. And he says, "This isn't your typical darkness," or whatever. He doesn't know why it is, but the reason is that inherent dark vision that elves get can see through magical and physical darkness, like natural, real world darkness, not scientifically induced darkness.
Another thing that we have done specifically with Andrew of kind of like seeing the fight between the scientific and the magical is that later in his timeline, when he encounters Aurora Remington in person for the first time, is able to stab her light wings, and it leaves black marks in her, like whenever she has her wings out, that there's like black marks in it, and then there are like spider-like markings on her back whenever the wings aren't out. And then that actually gets, that black mark gets passed down when she has her 3 sons. All of them have a black birthmark somewhere on their body. We haven't really figured out what this...
That's why you get tattoos, so that your kids look awesome. Like.
I mean, but it is like, and that's something that we haven't necessarily figured out the pseudoscience particulars with that, but we're like, this is a thing that happens.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I've learned a lot about power rings, which is crazy because my character has a power ring, so I'm like, wow, I feel like I've learned a lot today.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, Deacon, is there anything you want to give a shout out to before we say goodbye for the day?
Yeah, come see the Spy Show. We hope you enjoyed Ordinary Heroes. And yeah, so support the nerds, support the arts. We are both, and we love doing what we do. Let us keep doing it.
At the time of recording this, Spy Show does not have a title yet, but hopefully by the time this episode does come out, it will have a title. We'll have a link in our show notes of where you can find information about that show. There is a brief little synopsis of it on our website, so go check that out. And make sure that you're following us to be in the loop for all things Reinvent. As mentioned before, our next episode is going to be talking about Industrious City as a whole, as one of the major locations in Reinvent. We are very excited to be chit-chatting about that, so we hope that we will have you back for our next session. Thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode of Lore Drop.
And remember,
being fantastic starts with being a fan.
Less and less awkward as we go. And Watson, super awkward.
being awkward is funny.
Yeah.
Reinvent Productions is proudly sponsored by 5 Points Corporation Lubbock and Savannah Rashida Photography, as well as our other wonderful community patrons. Our home base in Lubbock is Hollingsworth Hall Cultural Center at 4228 Boston Avenue. For more information on how to support our 501c3 organization, you can check out our website at www.reinvent-productions.com. To directly support our upcoming audio drama, you can become a Lore Drop sponsor. For just $10, you can sponsor an episode of this podcast. All donations will go towards support for our upcoming production of Children of Destiny Cataclysm Season 1, which will begin releasing episodes June 22nd, 2026. Funds will go towards paying our wonderful voice actors and creative staff for their fantastic talent and time. We have over 30 artists globally working on this production, and we can't wait for you to hear it this summer. You can donate at givebutter.com/Lore Drop sponsor. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at reinvent.productions, as well as on Facebook and Twitch, where we stream gaming and a look behind the scenes on how we create our new works. Be sure to follow us to stay in the loop about upcoming productions, auditions, and more. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Lore Drop.